Egypt and Kuwait emphasized urgent need for an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip and the continued exchange of detainees. Prime Minister Madbouli highlights efforts exerted by the government to ensure sustainability of local energy supply and support national economic development. Minister of Finance Kujuk announces Egypt achieving a record-breaking primary surplus of 435 billion Egyptian pounds. Egypt and Kuwait have emphasized the urgent need for an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip and the continuation of the detainees exchange. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met with Kuwaiti Emir Sheikh Mish'al Al-Ahmad Al-Jaber Al-Sabah at the conclusion of his state visit to Kuwait. Presidential spokesman Ambassador Mohammed Al-Shinawi said that the two leaders held extended talks with their delegations, followed by bilateral discussions. They focused on regional issues, particularly Gaza, calling for an immediate ceasefire, continued detainee exchanges, and urgent humanitarian aid. Both leaders backed the Arab plan to rebuild Gaza and rejected the forced displacement of Palestinians, reaffirming support for a two-state solution based on the 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as the capital. The discussions also addressed developments in Syria, Sudan, and Yemen, emphasizing unity, stability, and the security of maritime navigation in the Red Sea. Al Qahira News has reported that Egypt and Qatar have received an Israeli proposal for a temporary ceasefire in Gaza, paving the way for negotiations towards a permanent ceasefire. The sources added that Egypt and Qatar have delivered the Israeli proposal to Hamas and are awaiting a response as soon as possible. In a statement, Hamas announced that its leadership is reviewing the proposal received from the mediators and will provide a response soon after completing the necessary consultations. The movement reiterated its firm stance that any forthcoming agreement must include a permanent ceasefire and a full withdrawal of Israeli forces from the Gaza Strip. The statement also stressed that any deal must include a detainee exchange, the launch of a serious reconstruction process for what the occupation has destroyed, and the lifting of the blockade on Gaza. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli highlighted the efforts exerted by the government to ensure sustainability of local energy supply and support national economic development plans in this score. During an inspection tour in Ras Gharib city in the Red Sea Governorate, Prime Minister Madbouli said that this falls within the state's approach to promote reliance on renewables in accordance with the Sustainable Development Goals. He referred to the state efforts to boost capacity of wind turbines, highlighting the importance of partnership with the private sector as a key partner in various economic sectors. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli has visited a 650-megawatt wind power plant in Ras Gharib as part of his tour of renewable energy projects in the Red Sea Governorate. During the tour, Minister of Electricity and Renewable Energy Mahmoud Asmat reaffirmed the government's strong focus on increasing the use of renewable energy, reducing carbon emissions, and diversifying power sources. He noted that Egypt's national energy strategy aims to raise the contribution of renewable energy to over 42% of the electricity mix by 2030 and 65% by 2040. This strategy also seeks to maximize returns from Egypt's natural resources, particularly in the field of new and renewable energy generation. General Abdel Megeed Saer, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and Minister of Defense and Military Production, attended the presentation of the main research study conducted by the Armed Forces Operations Authority, titled Egypt's Competitive Role in the Energy Sector. The research was prepared by a distinguished group of strategic experts and energy researchers. It addressed both conventional and non-conventional sources of energy security based on modern scientific principles. The study concluded with a set of recommendations and proposed mechanisms to implement Egypt's future vision of becoming a regional hub for secure and sustainable energy. Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research Ayman Ashur has met with the President of the University of Brussels to explore opportunities for academic and research cooperation. The meeting focused on strengthening ties between VUB and Egyptian universities through joint academic programs, research initiatives, student exchanges, and faculty collaboration. Ashur underlined the importance of expanding academic partnerships with Belgian institutions and highlighted Egypt's broader push to deepen relations with European universities. The House of Representatives, in a general session chaired by House Speaker Hanafi Al-Gibeli, has given final approval to the draft law submitted by the government for the issuance of the new labor law. The draft law aims to strike a balance between both parties in the production process and aligns with the provisions of international labor charters and agreements. It serves as a tool to help create an attractive investment climate without compromising workers' rights, while also ensuring job security guarantees for employees. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli held a meeting with a number of ministers and officials to follow up on the implementation status of Unity Connections for agricultural reclamation projects in the New Delta. The meeting addressed several key aspects related to the execution of utility connections for the New Delta project, including the measures being taken to expedite the completion of the additional power supply system required to meet the needs of the New Delta projects in general and the ongoing agricultural reclamation projects in particular. Minister of Finance Ahmed Kujuk has announced that Egypt achieved a record-breaking primary surplus of 435 billion Egyptian pounds, representing 2.5% of the GDP. In his presentation of the draft state budget for the fiscal year 2025-2026 before the House of Representatives, Kujuk said that strong financial performance was evident between July and March, with public revenues increasing by 32%, significantly outpacing the 24% growth in expenditures. Tax revenues reached an unprecedented 1.4 trillion Egyptian pounds, reflecting a 38% year-on-year rise achieved without imposing any new taxes. Egypt's Minister of Planning, Economic Development and International Cooperation, Rania Al-Mashad, has emphasized the country's strategic vision to leverage private sector leadership and continental cooperation to boost sustainable growth. Speaking at the opening of the Focus Africa Trade and Investment Forum in Cairo, Al-Mashad announced that by 2030, Egypt aims to attract $60 billion in foreign direct investment and increase its annual exports to $145 billion. She also highlighted Egypt's broader development strategy, which includes the 2050 National Climate Change Strategy, the NWFE platform nexus of water, food and energy, and localization of Vision 2030, all designed to align national priorities with global and continental sustainability goals. The General Authority for Suez Canal Economic Zone witnessed the groundbreaking ceremony for the Bin Hua Bifar Group chemical project. The ceremony took place within the industrial developer area Tida, Egypt, in the Sokhna industrial zone, where a chlor-alkali production facility and its complementary products will be established, with a production capacity of 100,000 tons and a total investment cost of $500 million. Walid Gamal-Eddin, the executive director of the Suez Canal Economic Zone, emphasized that this project carries a message that goes beyond industry, one of sustainability, leadership, and comprehensive economic revival. As part of its continued investment in public services and infrastructure, the government has allocated 3.5 billion Egyptian pounds to expand residential natural gas connections across cities and villages. An additional 5.2 billion Egyptian pounds has been designated for the railway sector, while 1.8 billion Egyptian pounds will cover student and metro transport subscriptions. To further support public mobility, 2.5 billion Egyptian pounds has been earmarked for transportation services in Cairo and Alexandria. In the healthcare sector, the budget allocates 617.9 billion Egyptian pounds for the upcoming fiscal year. Education also received a substantial share of the budget. 684.7 billion Egyptian pounds has been set aside for pre-university education, 358.2 billion Egyptian pounds for higher education, and over 173 billion Egyptian pounds for scientific research. The number of Saudi companies operating in Egypt has exceeded 800, with total investments amounting to around $34 billion. Minister of Agriculture and Land Reclamation Ala Farouk said that during his participation in the Egyptian-Saudi Business Council Forum as part of ongoing efforts to strengthen cooperation between the two countries and expand the scope of economic collaboration, he stated that Egypt is Saudi Arabia's seventh largest trading partner, while the kingdom ranks as Egypt's third largest. Meanwhile, over 6,830 Egyptian companies are active in Saudi Arabia, with investments nearing $5 billion. Egypt U20 national football team, led by coach Osama Nabih, has entered a closed training camp today in preparation for the upcoming Africa U20 Cup of Nations set to kick off on April 27th in Cairo. The draw ceremony for the tournament placed Egypt, the host nation, at the top of Group A alongside Zambia, Sierra Leone, South Africa and Tanzania. The top two teams from each of the three groups, along with the two best third-place teams, will advance to the quarterfinals. Al Ahly men's volleyball team delegation will depart for Libya early Thursday morning to participate in the African Club Championship, scheduled to take place from April 19th until the 29th. The team heads to the tournament with high morale, aiming to clinch the continental title after an impressive domestic season, having secured the Egyptian League, Egypt Cup, and the local Super Cup titles. The General Authority for Meteorology forecasts that tomorrow will witness warm weather during the daytime in Greater Cairo and the Nile Delta, moderate conditions along the north coast at night, and in the early morning the weather will be slightly cool. Morning fog is expected on some agricultural and highway routes, especially those near bodies of water leading to and from Greater Cairo, the Delta, the northern coast, canal cities, Central Sinai and northern Upper Egypt. Occasional wind activity is also expected across most areas. And that brings us to the end of our news bulletin. Here is what we have been covering. Egypt and Kuwait emphasize urgent need for an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip and the continued exchange of detainees. Prime Minister Madbouli highlights efforts exerted by the government to ensure sustainability of local energy supply and support national economic development. Minister of Finance Kuchuk announces Egypt achieving a record-breaking primary surplus of 435 billion Egyptian pounds. Well, that's all for now. Remember to stay updated by following Qnews for the latest developments. I'm Halal Hamalawi. Thank you very much for joining us.